My greetings to everyone. I am Professor Dr. Namita Rajput, Professor in Department of Commerce, Sri Aurobindo College, University of Delhi. In the ongoing series of Art of Being Happy, which is a value addition course for the entire university, today we will be talking on understanding the happiness index. We will be talking about the definition and the purpose, the indicators, the subjective versus objective happiness, the gross national happiness versus gross domestic product, and of course the top happiest countries in the world, and also talk about the factors influencing the happiness index scores, followed by the economic indicators and their impact on happiness, the limitations and the criticism of happiness index, and the future trends in measuring and utilizing the happiness index. So let's start the introduction part. The happiness index, also known as the well-being index or the gross national happiness, is a quantitative measure used to evaluate the overall happiness and the well-being of individuals within a society. It goes beyond traditional economic indicators such as gross domestic product by incorporating multiple factors that contribute to the satisfaction and the quality of life of individuals and overlooked in purely economic assessment. The primary objective of the happiness index is to provide a more holistic comprehensive of a society's progress and prosperity by focusing on the mental, emotional and the social factors that are frequently overlooked in a purely economic assessment. Now, this index typically takes into account a variety of factors including but not limited to economic stability, healthcare quality, education access, social support systems, environmental sustainability and the personal freedom. The happiness index seeks to provide a comprehensive snapshot of the population well-being, reflecting both individual experiences and the collective welfare of a society by combining these diverse components. The happiness index emphasizes the pursuit of happiness as a fundamental human right and society's primary objective, acknowledging that well-being is multidimensional and influenced by both material and non-material factors rather than focusing solely on the material wealth. Thus, the government policy makers and the researchers, they utilize the happiness index to gain the insights into the efficiency of their policies, identify the areas requiring refinement and making informed decisions to improve the quality of life for the citizens as a whole. Now, Bhutan gross national happiness concept is an illustrative illustration of the happiness index in practice. Bhutan recognized the limitations of relying solely on the economic indicators since 1970s, has evaluated its development based on the wellness and the contentment of its people. Now, this strategy has produced the policies that prioritize environmental conservation, cultural preservation and equitable resource distribution. Let us now do the components of the happiness index, the key indicators. The happiness index is a set of indicators that measure the overall happiness and the well-being of individuals in a society, encompassing the various dimensions beyond economic metrics, and its primary components include economic well-being. The economic stability and the prosperity significantly influence the overall happiness, encompassing the income distribution, unemployment rates and access to essential necessities. The second we talk about is the social support systems. The social network and the support systems significantly impact an individual's emotional well-being, including the family and community ties, availability of social services, and the perception of social support. Next is your freedom and civil liberties. The degree of personal freedom, the political stability, and the civil liberties all contribute to contentment. This includes the political participation, freedom of speech, and the rule of law. Next is your work-life balance. The job satisfaction, the work-related stress, and work-related balance, they have an effect on overall contentment. Working hours, job security, and adaptability all contribute to this factor. Next is your measurement of objective versus subjective happiness. The subjective and objective happiness measurement are two distinct methods used to assess and quantify the happiness and the well-being of individuals and societies. Methodologically and the data type wise, these approaches are distinct. Let us first talk about subjective happiness evaluation. Subjective happiness measurement concentrates on the self-reported perceptions of an individual's happiness and the well-being. It takes into account individual subjective evaluations and emotions about their lives, which are influenced by their experiences, beliefs, and expectations. This approach acknowledges that happiness is subjective and multifaceted concept that varies from individual to individual. The first is your surveys and the questions. The researchers ask the individuals directly about their overall life satisfaction, contentment levels, and emotional experiences using the surveys and the questionnaires. After analyzing these responses, subjective well-being is determined. Next is your scales of life satisfaction. These scales present participants with life satisfaction related statements and ask them to rate their agreement on a scale. The cumulative scores provide insights into the overall contentment of an individual. The sampling of experiences. Now, this method requires participation to report their emotions and daily activities at the various times. It provides the real-time information regarding the emotional experiences and, of course, the mood fluctuations. Next is your objective measures of happiness. The objective measurement of happiness emphasizes on quantifiable external factors that can really influence an individual's happiness. It frequently entails analyzing the concrete indicators that are less influenced by the subjective perceptions and more founded in measurable conditions. The first is your economic indicators. The objective measures such as income levels, employment rates, and access to essential needs, that is food, shelter, and health care, are used to assess the impact of economic factors on the well-being of the population as a whole. Next is your health and life expectancy. The assessment of the physical health, life expectancy, and access to the health care, it contributes to objective well-being assessments. The third is your education levels. Objective measures of educational attainment, literacy rates, and educational quality can impact the satisfaction levels. The next is your environmental factors. The quality of the environment, access to the pure water, air quality, and ecological sustainability can influence the objective well-being. Now let us talk about what is the difference between the gross domestic product, that is the GDP, and the gross national happiness, that is GNH. So we will be talking on GNH versus the GDP. The gross national happiness, that is the GNH, and the gross domestic product, that is GDP, are two distinct measures of a country's progress and the well-being. But they emphasize the various aspects of the societal developments. The gross domestic product is a traditional economic indicator that measures the entire market value of all goods and services produced within a nation's borders during a specified time period. It has been used for decades as a measure of the national economic development and productivity. However, the GDP only considers the monetary transactions and the material output. So frequently ignoring the crucial factors such as environmental sustainability, income distribution, and the quality of life as a whole. The gross national happiness, that is the GNH, on the other hand, is a very attractive alternative and definitely a holistic approach to quantifying a nation's development, which originated in Bhutan, seeks to evaluate the well-being and the development beyond the monetary parameters. It consists of 9 interdependent domains, that is the psychological well-being, the health, education, time use, cultural diversity, resilience, effective governance, community vitality, ecological diversity, resilience, and the living standards. Now, this approach takes into account the factors such as the mental, emotional, and the social cohesion, environmental conservation, the cultural preservation that are frequently neglected by the gross domestic product. The gross national happiness takes into account both material and the non-material aspects of the well-being, whereas GDP, that is the gross domestic product, it concentrates primarily on economic growth and the material wealth. By recognizing the significance of the environmental preservation and the social harmony, the GNH promotes the sustainable development. It also acknowledges that the economic development should not come at the expense of the environmental or the welfare of society. The critiques of the GDP asserts that it can lead to an unsustainable pursuit of the endless economic development that disregards the welfare of the population. So this may lead to environmental degradation, income disparity, and the social unrest. The gross national happiness provides an alternative attractive by highlighting the significance of equitable resource distribution, the cultural preservation, the environmental sustainability, and by emphasizing these broader dimensions of the well-being, the GNH, that is the gross national happiness, seeks to foster a society that is more balanced and more inclusive. In contrast, the gross national happiness has encountered the measurement and implementation difficulties. Now, some of its components such as psychological well-being and the cultural diversity can be challenging to objectivity and precisely quantify. In addition, there are some controversies regarding the cultural relativism and universal applicability of the gross national happiness concepts in diverse societies. Now, talking about the happiness index ratings, the top happiest countries. The World Happiness Index 2023, published by the United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network, evaluates the nation based on their level of happiness. For the 6th consecutive year, Finland was held the top position due to a score that places it far above all the other nations. Denmark is still in the 2nd place with a confidence interval between that position and the 4th. Israel is now in 4th place, up 5 spots from the previous years, and Iceland is the 3rd. According to the Happiness Index 2023, the Netherlands, Sweden, Norway, and Switzerland are the 5 through 8 spots, Luxembourg at 9th position and New Zealand at the 10th position. Now let us talk about the most pertinent position of India, that is the India's rank in the World Happiness Index 2023. India ranks as one of the least happy nations in the world, coming in at position of 126 out of 136. As per the Happiness Index, India rank was 136 out of 146 nations in 2022. It even falls behind the countries that are very close by, such as Nepal, China, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. India frequently ranks low on the World Happiness Index, despite having the fastest growing economy in the world, which has some people wondering how it can be listed behind unstable nations. Now, due to a combination of the factors including the social support, economic stability, trust in the institutions, strong social safety nets across, and access to the healthcare and education, the work-life balance and a clean environment, these nations consistently score high on the happiness surveys. It is important to note that while these rankings provide the valuable insights, they are founded on the multiple factors that interact in the complex ways, making the path to happiness in each country a unique thing. Let us now talk about the factors influencing the happiness index scores. The happiness index scores are influenced by the various factors, including the social, economic, environmental aspects, which impact the people's happiness and the overall life satisfaction. Now, some important variables affecting the happiness index scores include the first, the social relationship. Strong and supportive social relationships, including the family, friends, and the community connections, are very critical for happiness. The positive social interaction fosters a sense of belonging and the emotional support, followed by access to the basic needs. Adequate access to food, clean water, health care, and shelter is very essential for happiness. Meeting these basic needs is a prerequisite for well-being, followed by positive emotions and resilience. The ability to experience and manage a range of emotions, including positive ones, and to bounce back from adversity is important for happiness. Next we have is in environmental quality. The clean air, water, and sustainable environment contribute to physical and mental health and have an impact on contentment. Degradation of environment can actually diminish the life satisfaction. Now, economic indicators and their impact on happiness. Economic indicators significantly influence the individual and societal happiness, but the relationship between economic factors and happiness is complex and multifaceted. Income and wealth. Higher income increases the happiness up to a point, after which the effect diminishes. Employment and job satisfaction. Being employed and satisfied with one's job positively impacts the happiness. Next we have is the economic stability and inequality. Stability and low income inequality enhance the well-being, while instability and high inequality can reduce it. Access to basic needs. Access to necessities like food and shelter positively affects the happiness. Economic indicators are not the only determinants of happiness. The social relationships, the physical and mental health, the personal values, the cultural context also play a very crucial role. Therefore, balancing the economic development and holistic well-being is very essential for promoting the overall happiness. Let us now talk about what are the limitations and the criticism of the happiness index. The happiness index, which is a matrix used to assess the individual and societal well-being, has gained prominence in the recent years. However, it has some limitations and criticism, including its inaccuracy and the lack of consistency, etc. The first and the foremost is subjectivity. Happiness is subjective and culturally diverse concept with the varying definitions across the different regions and the groups, making it challenging to accurately measure and compare. Next we have is a reliance on self-reported data. The happiness indexes rely on self-reported data potentially influenced by the social desirability, biasness, cultural norms, personal biases, and differing interpretations of the scale by the individuals. Next we have is the inequality and the distribution. The happiness index often focuses on the average happiness levels within a population, which can mask the significant inequalities in the well-being. It may not reflect the experiences of the marginalized or the vulnerable groups. Next we have is the ethical considerations. Now, collecting the personal data related to the well-being raises the ethical concerns about the privacy, consent, and the potential data misuse. Let us talk about some future trends in measuring and utilizing the happiness index. The happiness index is a rapidly evolving field which is influenced by the technological advancement, societal shifts, and a growing awareness of its significance. The future trends in measuring and utilizing the index include the integration of the big data and the artificial intelligence. The big data and artificial intelligence will increasingly be utilized for measuring the happiness, analyzing the sentiment on the social media and online behavior to provide a real-time emotional state insights. Then we have a mobile app for the real-time tracking. The mobile applications will allow the individuals to track their own happiness and well-being over time. Now, these applications may offer the personalized recommendations and the interventions to improve the well-being based on individual data. Incorporating the environmental well-being, the happiness index will expand to include the measures of environmental well-being. So, this will reflect the growing concerns about the climate change and the impact of the environment on overall happiness and the quality of life. Then we have is the happiness education. The schools, universities may incorporate the happiness and well-being education into their curricula to equip the students with the skills and the knowledge to lead a fulfilling lives. So this is what we have to talk about, and this is what we have to think about, that how the happiness index works and what are the different parameters which are very important as far as the ethical data is concerned, as far as the future trending of the happiness index is concerned, because we are actually living in a very evolving economy, which is a world economy. And definitely when you talk about the technological advancement, there is a paradigm shift, and on a blink of an eye the technology is changing. So owing to this technological changes, there are societal shifts, there are cultural shifts, and definitely there is a strong growing awareness in this regard. And owing to all these scenarios, there is an integration of the big data analytics and the artificial intelligence, which is actually paving a way for the measurement future trends. So the big data and the artificial intelligence, they are actually being increasingly utilized for the measurement of the happiness and analyzing the sentiment on the social media and also the online behavior to provide a real-time emotional state insights. So whatever they offer is definitely personalized in nature, and which can also be tracked by some recent applications which are mobile apps. And of course, these mobile applications which we have already talked about, they actually track the data on an individual basis, and also it provides the recommendations and the solutions in this regard in order to increase the wellness, and the happiness data is also individualized in nature. Of course, the incorporation of the other factors like environmental well-being, which includes the environmental factors, there is a growing concern in this regard, because there are big issues of the climate change, and there is an impact on the environmental issues because of the changing climate and the overall quality of life. There are melting glaciers and the hot temperature, which is definitely a part of the climate change, and there is the seasons are becoming short and severe. So all these impact the happiness levels. And also there is a growing trend of increasing education in the higher education institutes, etc., which is definitely going to equip all the students in this regard, that is how to upskill themselves, how to lead their knowledge, how to build the status so that they live more fulfilling lives. So there are some courses like Art of Being Happy, which is a value addition course. This is also paving a way to deep dive into your self journey, to make yourself more happy, to become more aware of the environment, and how we can equip our future generation and the students, amongst which the societal tendency and the other negative features are scaling up. And of course, we are the future builders. So definitely all these education and the short-term courses, long-term courses, value addition courses, they are going to actually make the students more equipped, more skilled, more knowledgeable in this regard, so that we are able to create a more inclusive and a happier society. Thank you so much.